Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce presents the Bowie Business Journal, a program designed to keep our community informed about important business and economic issues.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Bowie Business Journal. I'm your host, David Emanuel, and I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. Glad you're watching today, and I'm glad to have Will Hess, General Manager of Level Up Boxing and Fitness, with us today in the studio. Welcome to the show,
Hey,
Will.
David, how's it going?
Doing well, doing well. Glad you're here. And first question to you, Level Up Boxing, it's a gym, but it's not a gym. It's a training facility. It's a little bit of everything. And can you tell us, just first of all, a little bit about that place?
Yeah, absolutely. So Level Up Boxing and Fitness, we started, our owner, our head trainer, Jason Farrell, he grew up with a background of martial arts. He was kind of a troubled kid. Martial arts really straightened him out. So we try to kind of take that and offer it to Bowie. We do boxing, kickboxing, and Muay Thai. We also do general athletic conditioning and body transformation. A little known story about myself, you know, the reason I'm here, I lost 160 pounds when I was in college from kickboxing. So for us, we try to offer classes for everyone. Everything from boxing to kickboxing and Muay Thai, it all starts from the beginner level, and we have everything right through professional level athletes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we often say we train right from fresh off the couch right through
That's great.
That professional
That's great.
level.
That's great. So many questions come to mind right away with what you were just saying. First of all, can you talk about the weight loss? That's amazing. 160 pounds, it just hit you. I want to just lose weight, and this is how I want to do it, or what?
You know, I've always been a big kid. Well, I was a big kid. My worst, I was 360 pounds. I was in college, and I kind of just got to this point where I needed to make a change. And it's funny, I was doing a spoof infomercial for one of my friends who had a cinema class, and there was this awkward place where I was there just to be funny. I was doing this moment of where I was strutting down the street in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in just really tight clothing because I was large and it looked ridiculous. And I told him, I was like, you know, the only way I'm going to do this is if, you know, I will not look like this a year from now. And around that time, I had started training in Sancho, which is another form of kickboxing. And for me, kickboxing was the perfect alternative to just going to the gym, just because it wasn't about working out. It was about how do you do the techniques better? How do you get better? You're doing something a little more tangible than just trying to burn these mystery calories that you never see. Right. So for me, kickboxing just made a huge difference. And next thing I knew, 160 pounds later, I got, it was quite a difference, you know.
Incredible. Can you talk about, first of all, the importance of the stick-to-itiveness to do that, and how important it is to not just do it for a little bit and say, oh, I can't do it, or this is too much, but, you know, you see the results, it makes you feel better, it motivates you more. Talk about that whole, you know, just as you trim down, how great it felt and why you stuck with it.
Yeah, you know, for me, it was, at first, when I was my largest, it was really easy because the weight just started just melting off, literally. After, you know, a few weeks of working out and eating a little bit better, and all of a sudden I was just losing pounds here and there. The hardest thing was when I started to get to that last 20, 30 pounds, when it really plateaued. And it became about training and becoming a better athlete is what made me get that extra little push. The hardest thing when it comes to weight loss, it's not losing weight. If you're trying to gain muscle, it's not gaining weight. It's maintaining. It's really easy when you say, you know, I've got this goal in mind. I need to get down, and you know you're working towards something. It's really easy to change your life and make sure that's what it's all about. And a lot of people, they get into that trouble of they'll end up doing the fad diets, they'll work out really hard for a week and then they get burnt out on it. And the biggest thing that we try to push when it comes to martial arts, when it comes to athletic conditioning or training or just weight loss in general, is that it really must be a lifestyle change. It's not about saying, you know, tomorrow I'm never going to eat sugar again, or the next day I'm never going to drink anything but water again. It's about figuring out those small changes that you can integrate and you can get used to. Someone who goes to Dunkin' Donuts every day and gets a coffee colada like I used to, I still do occasionally, you know, you're used to having that sugar rush every day at 2 p.m. You're not going to be able to switch over to black coffee in an instant. it's something you really have to work towards and kind of figure out what is it that you're willing to give up. And there's always that question of how much is your health worth to you? Can you, if you...
Can you give up those dollar sweet teas from McDonald's? Not that I'm speaking from experience, but
Exactly. And that's the thing, at the end of the day, if you can extend your life by 1 year when you're 90 years old, but to do that, you have to make yourself miserable now. Is that really worth it to you? And it's always a balance of figuring out what is it that you want.
You hit a great point there too. It's miserable sometimes for people, but you don't have to be miserable, and that's something that's important to learn. Like, you can have fun when you're doing these the kickboxing routines and everything. You can even have fun when you're changing your diet. It's all about moderation, like they say, but it's not about starving yourself or working yourself out like you're just going nuts and you're just going to keep working out. And then can you talk again how, in other words, what's the most, say, misunderstood thing when people say, oh my gosh, I just don't want to exercise, or I can't change my diet, but that turns out to be easier than they think? What common misconceptions?
I think most people, it's just getting started. They convince themselves that they're not in enough shape to go to the gym. They're not in enough shape to go and work out. They're not in enough shape to go on that run because they'll die if they try and go out and go for that run. And the thing about it is that I think it's something like 21 days. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a statistician, but it's something like 21 days in a row of trying to do something, or 21 or 31. It's however much time after you can work that into your schedule, it becomes part of your schedule, and it doesn't become a problem anymore. It just becomes part of your life. For most people, I think the hardest thing, and the questions I'm answering all the time is, when it's boxing, I have no experience whatsoever. Am I okay to go into the class? And for us, we say, yeah, absolutely. You may not have the perfect form. You may not be able to keep up and do every single exercise, but that's not what matters. When we do our training, all of our trainers, their job is to look out for those folks who aren't quite at the same level as everyone else and adjust it. And that doesn't mean necessarily that they can't do the exercise because they're not strong enough or they're not in shape enough. It may also mean that they're too in shape, that this particular exercise, it's amazing. It's always amazing. You've got someone who can't do 5 push-ups, and then you throw them on a pull-up bar and they can do 20. That's always, it's always the way it is. And everyone has kind of their skill sets.
That's like me. I can do so many, Jen.
I'm sure.
One. Anyway, none. The age range and like young, old that comes in there, what is the age range usually? For
us, we have a youth program that starts at age 5.
Wow.
And that goes through 12 in terms of our youth program with youth boxing and kickboxing. As far as our general members, I think we actually just added our oldest member at 62.
Tremendous.
Yeah,
Tremendous.
She is wonderful. She is a very fiery little woman.
That's terrific.
And she keeps up with them.
And you said which a lot of people think right away, kickboxing and all this type of boxing, it's male dominated, but you've got male and female classes and courses.
We have a women's only program too, in fact.
Terrific.
All of our classes, we've got a women's version of it. Coach Erin, Dr. Erin, she is our women's trainer, and she is a North American. They always make sure I point that out. North American kickboxing and Muay Thai champion.
Tremendous.
She's a doctor from Johns Hopkins, and she is incredible. And without a doubt, she's probably one of our most technically skilled fighters that we have.
That's wonderful. Speaking of the championships, I was reading too on your website too how many championships and champion winners you've had nationally, internationally, and you've been open 16 months. Is that right?
Just about 16 months.
Incredible. Talk about. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling. And how does that happen? How do how do these folks find out about you and then they're turned into champions? That's wonderful.
A lot of it really comes down to Coach Jason. He's trained at multiple places before, and a lot of our current fight team, they came with him. And mostly that reason was that when you think about martial arts gyms, more in particular when you think about boxing gyms, you're used to that old school mentality of, either it's that really stringent, you come in and you bow in and you do this and you do that. You've got your gis and everything, and it must, it's very, very regimented. Or you've got the other extreme, whereas the boxing gym, where you go in and everyone's just yelling and screaming and beating things and nothing's going on. And, everyone's just beating each other up in the ring. And for us, we like to say we don't prove ourselves in the gym because we prove ourselves in the ring. We are very, very laid back. The other analogy I always use, Roadhouse. It's one of my favorite lines. We as a gym, we're nice until it's time to not be nice. And really that's the big thing with Jason. It's such a laid back kind of atmosphere, and it's just a family friendly, and for us it's a culture. You know, we're all hanging out, and it's tough to get out of the gym some nights because next thing you know, it's another hour has gone by and you've just been hanging out talking.
It's so obvious reading about you and about Jason and the trainers and the people who are there. You just love it. That's what a great thing to do is doing what you love and getting paid for that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Jason, too, I was reading about him. That's fascinating. You talked about him with martial arts at a very early age, and he was in Bowie at 6 years old. He started martial arts, and then I think it's at 12 he got his black belt?
Yes, I believe so.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and for him, traditional martial arts really influences our style and the way that he likes to run things.
How did you two meet then? How did that
Honestly,
happen?
it was just he was teaching at another gym. I moved here to the area. I was running a DJ company at the time, and I moved here, and I was just looking for another place to train, and I found the school that he was training at the time, and we met there, and then when he started the new gym, I kind of went with him.
That's fantastic. Now, is Level Up too? It's its own unique facility, or is the goal too? Do you want to open more, or do you want to?
Yeah, we will probably be rebranding as Level Up Training Center in the near future. We'll keep Level Up Boxing and Fitness, but we're in fact, we are just announcing we're going to be doing a combine training for all athletes here in the coming weeks for the summer. We're going to be doing, we have new classes and things we're adding all the time. We're going to be adding yoga very soon. I teach a line dance fitness class as a DJ in my DJ background, so that's one that's a lot of fun. And we're really branching out a little bit more to kind of, for us, the biggest thing, it's great to have those professional level athletes. We've got 3 professional kickboxers / Muay Thai fighters. We've got several MMA fighters, professional MMA fighters that come through, and we've got a lot of folks that train with us. But for us, the biggest reason that we're in this is for that everyday person who needs that extra push, or they need that motivation to do something physical, to go out and exercise, but they just can't get that motivation with the traditional setup. So for us, we want to be able to find ways to reach that person.
That's great.
If we can set them down the path to eventually wanting to be a competitor, then we'll do
wonderful.
it. But
I was going to ask that, do the people come in, when they want to come in, do they have something in mind, or they just say, hey, Will, hey, Jason, help me get a program, I'm interested in this? Like, do you work with them? Do they, obviously you do, but do they come to you with, here's what I'm interested in, and you do individual training sessions, in other words, because they're all at their own pace, right? There's different.
So the way we have a level system, which in boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai is really unknown. It's very similar to a traditional martial art. Everyone comes in, they come in as a level 0. We don't call them a level 0, but they come in just, they'll do our mixed level classes, and we have a certain system that you follow to learn the basics. When someone comes in, 9 times out of 10 they're coming in for boxing, which makes sense because our name is Level Up Boxing and Fitness. What usually will happen, they'll come in, they'll say, I've always been interested in boxing and I just never knew how to get into it, been looking for a boxing place, and I found you. And what ends up happening most of the time is they'll come in and they're interested in losing weight or getting stronger, or just boxing for the sake of it being fun.
That's great.
And that's usually where it starts. All of our programs, the way that they work, we don't lock you into a specific program. It's kind of a cross-training program. So if you're a member with us, then you have access to all programs. If you want to come and do boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, athletic training, any of it in the same day, you can. Mostly because what ends up happening, someone who does boxing, they see kickboxing going on afterwards, and they say, huh, that looks fun too. Next thing you know, Muay Thai. It's like, oh, that looks fun too. And before you know it, they're just there training with whatever we have. For the most part, I would say about 90% of the folks that come in, they're just looking to get in shape and lose weight.
That's great.
And for the most part, those are the folks who end up turning into the best fighters.
That's amazing. That's absolutely great. That's got to give you and Jason, such a thrill to see somebody who's just like, well, I don't know, and then they're just like tough as nails and they're just very confident. What can you talk about that personally, for you guys, or a funny story or something that's a memorable experience?
Actually, I think I always jokingly call her Dr. Erin now since she got her PhD. Erin is that story. Coach Erin, she came in, she was a very just timid, very quiet scientist at Johns Hopkins, and in 2 years, Jason had turned her into this just, she's a beast, I'll tell you. She gets in the ring and she's just a different person. Nicest, quietest person in the world, and you throw her in the ring and it's just a different story.
That's amazing.
We have tons of stories like that. A lot of, in terms of, particularly for kids, it's a great confidence booster once you get in there. And we are very, very strict about talking about when do you use the skills you're learning and all of that. But knowing and having the confidence that you can protect yourself, or that you are at a certain fitness level, it just changes the way you hold yourself. In our adult classes, we've got folks who come in all the time who are just quiet, they're not really sure, and then next thing you know, they're the loudest person in class.
That's great. That's
hitting
great.
things and having a good time.
That's great. I love when you said level 0. I'd come in probably as a level -4, but I think it's terrific when you do that. It's building the confidence is so important, especially for the kids. You mentioned too. We talked about kickboxing and everything. It's Muay Thai. Can you talk a little about that? I know I am not really familiar with that, but for maybe those in the audience that aren't sure about that either.
People always get very confused when we say Muay Thai and kickboxing. So in our community, and when I say our community, the stand-up fighting community, kickboxing and Muay Thai are, to most people, look exactly the same. The only difference in Muay Thai is that you can use elbow techniques.
Okay.
So in addition to your punches and your kicks, you can also throw elbows. And then it's just a simple rule in terms of how long you can hold on into what they call the clinch. So the biggest difference really is just the sport. It would be like the difference between the I wouldn't say minor league, major league, but for example, the NFL and the XFL, when they had the indoor football league. It's a different set of rules. But at the end of the day, you're still doing the same techniques for the most part. So when people come in and say, I'm interested in kickboxing, and we say, Muay Thai is right up your alley too. They're like, no. It's like, do you know what Muay Thai is? No. So yeah, Muay Thai, for self-defense, Muay Thai is without a doubt the most effective system you can learn. And the other thing that we really like to educate our students on, and folks who ask questions about us, while we are kickboxing and Muay Thai, we are much more of a Dutch style of kickboxing and Muay Thai. And what that means is the traditional Muay Thai comes from Thailand. And it's very, very heavy on kicks and knees and that sort of thing, and elbows. It's actually a combat sport. It was a combat style over there. Long way of saying, for self-defense, it's amazing. It teaches you techniques that really do work, and they're not complicated techniques.
So people do come in for self-defense rather than just to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Interesting.
People who want to learn to carry themselves a little more confidently, but people who just want to learn, what do you do? And the problem with traditional martial arts a lot of times is that when you get to that high level of being a high-level practitioner, it can be very, very effective. The problem is the amount of time you have to spend to get to that point, or the amount of time you have to spend keeping those skills up. A lot of times you're learning techniques that work great when you get the technique right. But unfortunately, when you're in that life or death situation, it's not always going to come back to you.
Right.
The other thing about traditional martial arts training is you don't get necessarily that live combat training. I say combat, that live sparring training, or that where it really is, in fact, you're trying to beat another person, as opposed, and when I say beat, I mean defeat them in a competition. But what Muay Thai allows you to do, and what this type of training does, is it gives you things that will always work, that you can learn. Your body is going to remember those motions. You're going to remember how to throw a punch. Once you get to a certain level, I don't care. It's like riding a bike. It can be 10 years down the road, and you're still going to remember how to throw a decent punch.
But you can come in and not know a thing, really.
Oh, absolutely.
That's great.
We love those. I mean,
I bet.
when someone new comes in, we walk through all of everything's through a number system. We'll walk through all the basic punches and kicks, and then we actually just started. I will personally be teaching a 2.5-hour intro to boxing seminar twice a week. So it's literally just a one-off course to give you all the basics that you need to know.
When you talk about when they finally go head to head, so to speak, or foot to foot, do you pit people against each other within Level Up who are training? Like, do they wind up working together? Is it mostly individual? See what I'm saying? How does that?
So first, let me just point out, when it comes to, and this is our just mantra, we do not do anything that requires a mouth guard.
Wow.
Until you've reached level 1 or level 2 status. We don't allow any kind of live contact. If you're doing drills, you're just catching for each other. You're not actually trying to do any kind of live sparring. Just because, honestly, someone who has less training can be much more dangerous in a sparring session than someone who has more training, because what ends up happening is they're throwing things that just it's like, where did that come from? Yeah. And unfortunately, if you're a more skilled fighter, you can only raise and lower your intensity so much. So it's a terrible situation to try and do that. So a lot of times, again, that traditional setup, particularly a boxing gym or something like that, a lot of times there are people who will just they'll get thrown in their first night, and all of a sudden they're getting punched, and it's like, we never, So that's the first thing. We do not do anything that requires a mouth guard until you reach at least level 1. After that, we do sparring with each other. We do technical sparring, and what that means is that it's not about causing damage. It's about going through your techniques, and it can be fast paced, but it's very, very controlled.
Okay. Is everything to their schedule? Like, people do have to schedule an appointment, or can they come in and say just work out like a gym as well?
We have both. We have class schedules. We have a normal class schedule that runs every week, and then we do offer open gym. And the reason we did that was because of that old school boxing kind of setup, where in most boxing gyms back in the day, so to speak, you would pay a monthly fee of whatever, and you would end up going, and if you wanted to be trained by someone, you'd have to pay them additionally to train you. So you'd end up having that $1 million baby setup where you just go in, you beat the bag until a trainer catches your eye and is like, oh, they have a little bit of potential. It's nice and all, but what we find is that by having the class schedule and then also allowing students to come in on their own and practice their techniques with each other and with them by themselves on the bag, it works a lot better.
Terrific. And again, how many trainers? So it's you, it's Jason, and then
we have Jared Tipton, who's one of our professional fighters. We have Patrick Rivera, who's another one of our professional fighters. Luther Smith, another professional fighter, and we have a few other folks as well. We have a couple of MMA fighters that come through. Adam Champagne, who he's an old student friend of Jason's, and Adam, he's actually a major CEO of a company who just comes in and trains 2 days a week for us. That kind of
That's
thing.
great.
So.
Terrific. Well, I know you've gotten a lot of praise online. I was looking at some of the reviews and some of the people, 4 and 5 star ratings. That's great to hear that. And one of the quotes I liked, I saw online, I wrote it down, and it was from one of the trainers, and you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. It said, this is a life change, not a short-term solution. You're talking about that. Again, can you talk about the importance of, this isn't just something you want to do for 2 weeks. Say, okay, I did this. It is truly a life change. And like you said, you've had testimony to that with people that have, the shy ones that are, and then just the ones that don't think they're strong at all, and they come out doing great. Talk again, if you want to.
And it's funny, I use this sometimes when, oftentimes a mother will say, boxing, it scares me. Boxing. So I'll use the quote that, our intro level classes are really like choreographed arm dancing. It's because you're not doing any you're not doing any kind of combat or anything like that. You're just learning the techniques. But dancing is a great analogy. If you want to be able to do high-level dancing, or if you're just interested in learning how to dance, you don't go into it saying, I can just pick it up after a day or two. It's one of those things where getting up to that next level it's a commitment.
Right.
And it's the same way. It's learning a new skill or a new technique. You're not going to learn to play guitar in one day or one week. When it comes to trying to learn boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai, a martial art, anything of that sort, it's about really committing yourself to the follow-through. It takes something like 10,000 times doing the same thing until it becomes muscle memory. Right. And it's true. I mean, you have to throw that same kick over and over and over again, but once you have it down, it's something that won't just disappear.
It'll just happen, like riding a bike.
Exactly.
So, you talk about arm dancing, and then you do something with line dancing, right? And talk about that a little bit. I think that's great. What was the group you said?
It's funny. So I as my DJ background, I've been a DJ for about 8 years now. I used to do that all the time. So I've learned tons and tons of line dances over the years, the popular line dances, the Wobble, the Cupid Shuffle. I've learned new ones, the Cleveland Shuffle, the Wild Wild West, which I love. All of these types of dances that you see at the weddings and clubs, everything. So what occurred to me is every time I go through a dance set and people get off the dance floor and we do a couple line dances, they're sweating, they're just they're dying, oh man, and they want to continue dancing, but they just got that workout in. So I've from years of teaching line dances and doing that on the dance floor, I thought I think this would make an awesome class. So we do it about once a month now. We do a line dance fitness class where there's usually about an hour of instruction. You come in, I'll teach you some that you may not know. I'll teach you variations. So the old doing the electric slide, just do a couple of little things here and there. It's nice and all for grandma. It's very easy. It's very low impact. Right. But then grandma gets bored, and grandma wants to know, how do you make it more fun? Which is actually mostly
Right.
what happens. So then you start adding this little flair in it. You do this, or
Right.
you do that. So what ends up happening, we'll go over some of the basic ones. We'll make sure we're all on the same page, and then we just dance party.
That's
Next thing you know, you just
terrific.
go through them all.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
The group you were talking about, Thick and Fit.
Thick and Fit.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
They're a local group that they came out to this last one, and they're definitely interested in kind of continuing with that. So it's a lot of fun. We usually do it on
terrific.
Saturday mornings, and I think it's something we'll probably add to the normal schedule here very soon.
That's great. That's great. I have to put in an extra plug in here for Will. Will was our DJ at our recent Taste of Bowie fashion show event in April. That was a blast, and thank you again for that.
Absolutely.
That was a great time, a lot of fun there. And also, Will, wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Will is also going to be one of our newest board members. He's going to be on the board of directors this coming year with us, and we're so glad he's one of our newest members as well. And to get on the board that quickly, that's great. And he's been, nominated and voted in. And can you talk a little bit about, why you joined the chamber and what the chamber's meant to you? I know you've just been a great new member and supporter.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for us, honestly, Cheryl Pyle of Money One, she's awesome. She introduced us to the Bowie Chamber. I had mentioned to her that I was going to making this transition to become the general manager at Level Up, and she was just like, you've got to meet these people. So we came out to a mixer, and within 10 minutes of talking to people at this mixer, we had just great connections, important connections that we needed. We had talked to the mayor within about 10 minutes of being there. Obviously met David. It was just fantastic. Next thing you knew, I had 3 or 4 business cards of people that, whether it's people I could do business with or just connect with, that were just super, super helpful. And now, I guess it's been only 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months. 6 months later, let's say, the kind of business that we've gotten just in terms of who we've been able to network with has just been, it's something that we wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. The Bowie Chamber just it's a group of people that they're here to help other businesses succeed. And the types of folks that you come into contact with are people that you might not run into, in the everyday. And honestly, if you just walked into someone's office someday, you'd probably get kicked out.
Right.
Whereas the Bowie Chamber, it does. When you call someone up, you say, "Hi, I'm with the Bowie Chamber. I got your contact information through them. I wanted to ask you about this or that." They'll listen, and that's something that's really, really unique to an organization like this, particularly because of the fact that it's not the county, it's not the state.
Right.
It's a very small group. Not small in size, but small in area. So everyone is here and they're in it together. So they're in to try and make the community better and make the business community better here in Bowie, and it's just incredible.
That is much, much, much appreciated, Will. We really appreciate that. Like I said, it's so great to have you on board. And folks, it's as simple as that. Like Will said, to just join, come check us out, come to some mixer events, come to any of our events, on our website, and check out our website at www.bowiechamber.org. And, we would love to meet you and love to have you as a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And Will, anything else in our last couple of minutes here as we're about to wrap up that I didn't ask you about that you'd like to talk about, either about Level Up or what you've gone through, just how happy you are to be a part of that and to watch the people that you're getting as, as new members in Level Up, or anything you'd like to close with?
For me, the biggest thing, my background, where I came from, there was a large part of my life where I thought, I'm always going to be unhealthy. I'm always going to be overweight. I'm going to be. It was really frustrating to me because for myself, I was always a very driven person. I was always, I could go and I could get straight A's and do this and that, or I could go and be on student council, or I could if I wanted to set my mind to anything else in the world, I could do it. But weight loss was always that one thing I just could not do, no matter how hard I tried. When I found kickboxing, it changed the game. That's the thing. People. The biggest thing that I try to stress to folks is that just because it's a combat sport does not mean that that's why you're there. There's no question in the world that mixed martial artists, kickboxers, boxers, Muay Thai fighters are some of the most in shape people in the world. And that's really what it is. It's you're learning a skill to get to your ultimate goal of what you really want. And for myself, I don't think there's a better way to do it.
That's awesome. Will, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you next time on the Bowie Business Journal. Thanks so much, Will.
Absolutely.